Hi, how are you? Now today we're going to talk about why it's so important to basically combine economics with philosophy. And before we go into the subject of why we need to combine these two disciplines, it's important to understand that they are essentially one of the same reality. And this may come as a curious surprise to even people who are studying economics or who may be going into this subject as a vocational discipline. But it's important to understand that when we talk about economics, it is essentially just a way of making sense of information. There's nothing to it. And when you talk about philosophy is just a tool that allows you to make sense of information. So this whole idea of reclaiming the idea of philosophy back into economics should not be seen as something that is trying to layer economics with an additional gloss or varnish or lacquer. I mean, there's nothing could be further from the truth, because if you look at the father of economics, Adam Smith, the first book that he wrote was actually known as The Moral Sentiments. He was a professor in the University of Glasgow in Scotland. And this was the first book he wrote before he wrote his seminal book called the Wealth of the Nations, that today has become a classic in economic terms. So I think it's important to understand the relationship between economics and philosophy, because if we don't understand it, then we will not be able to really know whether we are making a good decision or not. And one of the reasons is because many of the metrics that we use in order to define organizational and personal success doesn't really capture the true picture. It doesn't give you a representative picture of what is actually happening out there, because the standard key performance indicators don't, for example, measure happiness, self-esteem, your motivation, or your demotivated state, and 100 other things that we know feeds into the whole idea of well-being and a feeling of belonging. I think when we talk about the whole idea of minimum wage, what we need to understand is it is essentially a state of mind. And this state of mind means that we have to be very sensitive to the role of philosophy and how it actually relates to the whole subject of economics. And what we can do is basically reclaim this idea and to make sure that we don't disregard it. Because if we disregard it, what will happen is that we may end up making the right decision, but it may at the end also end up being the wrong decision, and we may find ourselves in an ironical position where we win all the battles only to lose the war. And this is very, very possible when you disregard the role of philosophy.